Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to another episode of Pilots React. Today, Todd and I are going to be discussing a recent accident on takeoff with a Cheyenne, and Todd will run you through the incident.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're going to go through the accident that happened October, I believe it was 23rd, just the other day, at 9:52 a.m. in Paramillo Airport in San Cristóbal in Venezuela. It was a Piper PA-31 Cheyenne, and they crashed on takeoff, unfortunately. Two fatalities during that crash. And the video is pretty gruesome. It's been going around social media and places, and we're going to analyze the crash and do our best to figure out what may have happened, our impressions, and talk about what the potentials that are currently floating out there. So here is the initial video. Yeah, that's a pretty gruesome one, Ben.
Yeah, hard to watch.
It is. So I have I look at the aftermath. We can look at the aftermath just briefly, and let me and then I recorded I slowed down the departure roll and the crash a few different ways. So that airplane's totaled. Unfortunately, both occupants died on impact. And here it's a little slower. And here I keep slowing it down a little bit more each time. So we'll stop it right here for a second and then just have a little bit of a discussion, Ben. So you've seen it a few times. What's your initial take?
The nose looked very high for a normal rotation. That it looks like, yeah, that looks a lot more up bubble than I would normally expect. So I also thought, VMC roll, if there was an engine problem on takeoff and they were airborne at too low of a speed to counter a roll. But really, it looks like that airplane got pulled off the ground way too quickly, abruptly. I'm not a dual engine pilot, so what are your thoughts?
So I flew the Seneca, which is this is a PA. It's been a long time. This is a PA-31. I'm pretty sure the Seneca is a PA-34, and I flew that for a while. And I found it to be a very heavy airplane. Mm-hmm. And I also found I found that if you're not on the controls, it can run away from you pretty quickly. So watching this, let's talk about the potentials. So you can have a VMC roll where, on takeoff, you lose an engine, and the lack of the person feathering it or shutting down, or even going to idle with the other engine, may cause them to roll the airplane and crash it. So that's obviously what a lot of people are discussing, was this a VMC roll accident. But I'm not siding with that just yet, mainly for the reasons you said, because he looked like he pulled up pretty steeply and then cut a pretty aggressive bank to me. And it's very possible that he wasn't, let me take a look at this, that he wasn't, that's so terrible. That's just terrible. It's very possible that he wasn't, he didn't have enough airspeed when he did that maneuver and stalled that wing. That's the left wing stalling and then dying. It seems to be more probable to me than another scenario. I was reading some social media. There was another gentleman who mentioned the fact that these engines are derated PT6 engines, and they've had fuel control issues before and failures and on takeoff. And so if one fails on takeoff, apparently it goes to I guess, what is the engine power? The engine with the failure goes to high power, and the other one remains at a full derated power, which can cause asymmetric issues, obviously. Mm-hmm. What are your takes, and any other ideas as well, that you can throw out there?
Yeah, so I'm unsure with the Cheyenne if the propellers move like this or like this or like this. And if the propellers were moving like this and you stall one or yeah, if the propellers are moving such that the induced torque, the adverse yaw is like this, like what the roll occurred. So if both props are going in the same direction, and
Yep.
the natural tendency is a left roll, and it was pulled off the ground at too slow of a flying speed. So you have enough elevator authority to really get the nose up, but because you still have weight on the wheels. But then once the plane is airborne, it's below stalling speed, or it's kind of crabbing to the left, so that left wing stalls, and there's no elevator authority to get that nose down. You're countering a PT6 engine, two PT6 engines trying to twist you, one trying to roll you over. And especially if you have a mechanical failure in there. The other thing that I was thinking is an improper trim setting. Like, I mean, I know that
that's a good idea.
had situations where my airplane is sensitive to the trim setting, and it's very sensitive to where the weight is. So if I have two people in the backseat or a lot of gear, I have to have the trim like right in the middle. If I'm alone or I have people just in the front seat, I have to have it like 5 or 6 turns to nose up. I have taken off when the trim wasn't set perfectly, and the airspeed's alive, you're building speed, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I gotta push, and then reach down and spinning forward, because it's like that nose just, you get to speed and it's like, whoop, the nose just wants to come up on you. So could it have been as simple as a pitch not being set properly, or a pitch trim not being set properly? Or I always would like to give the pilot, especially in a situation where the pilot's not with us to relate their story, I would like to give them all benefit of doubt. So I will assume that there was a mechanical failure. You mentioned the potential of an asymmetrical thrust situation with one engine developing more power, and that could introduce, in the critical phase of flight, like takeoff, you're going to get a rolling moment. Even as simple as if that left engine feathered, uncontrolled feather,
let's see if we can look at that as well, and take a look. See, cause I don't think they feathered, so I don't think. And to me, they look like they're spinning at the same time right there. And I slow it down a few more times, and it's hard to see here, but when it goes 90 degrees knife edge, you can kind of. To me, it looks like neither are feathered, and they're both spinning roughly at the same time. Now, whether or not that means that the engine had enough time on the ground to get to, full power prior to the rotation is a different story, So I can see the left and the right engine both spinning pretty well.
You can see when that left wing stalls. You can really see, because they're not stalled for the first, I don't know, first 20 feet, 15 feet of altitude.
That's just terrible. Also, Ben, another concept from what I just actually found out a little while ago about this is the Cheyennes have a little bit of a fueling flaw, whereas if the left tip tank is full, sometimes it's only going to indicate full if you have it selected to that tank. So the right one could be completely empty. And if the tip tank's full and the right one's empty, this could also cause that problem too.
Oh yeah. That's a really good point. If you've got a fuel imbalance, and I know on some of those, like, you have to burn the tips first so that you don't develop an imbalance.
Right here, if you look at the right main gear, it's already further higher in the air than the left, which means he's already initiating a bank right at rotation.
Yeah, and I just looked it up. So the Piper Cheyenne, at least my limited research shows that only the 400 LS is the only one that had the counter rotating props. So,
Okay.
and
They
also in
okay.
this video, yeah, so they're doing this.
Yeah.
And in the video, in your slowed down video, you can see that they're both turning
Yeah, you
counterclockwise.
can. You can.
Yeah, they're both counterclockwise rotation props. I mean,
Okay.
counterclockwise as viewed from the pilot seat.
Exactly.
Yeah, so see
Um,
the left. Yeah.
al- Also, I wanted to pause it here for a second too. So he's just off the ground, and he's already in at least, if I do the angle, probably about a 12-degree bank turn. And then if you just unpause it a second or two later, the pitch attitude gets to pretty high. Like right there, that's a pretty high freaking pitch attitude. You're already stalled,
Yeah. Well,
you
that
know?
the wing is stalled there, so it's the pitch angle looks even more abrupt because that wing is falling through. So
So,
it,
yeah.
I it could have been a really just a bad pull. It really could have been a bad rotation.
So
Or
my
you have
guesses
two
are
people.
honestly, go ahead.
I'm just wondering. There's been situations with instructors and students where a student prematurely rotates and the instructor has not been able to get the nose down, and you've had similar accidents. You've had that's where we developed so many of the positive exchange of control process and procedures, was because students would panic and pull, or students would not relinquish the controls. So I don't know, were these both pilots, or was this a
I, I
passenger?
I I don't know if it was pilot passenger. I did find their names out and their ages, but I know obviously one was pilot. But they did brief the ground crew to record them because they were deliberately going to do a left turn over them. So it was discussed that they're going to make a left banking turn after departure. So
Mm.
that adds a little bit to the equation as well. So while we can surmise that it might be a mechanical issue, such as like, not getting in the engine up to full power, or having a fuel control unit issue, I tend to, on this particular case, lean towards that it was pulled up a little bit too early without enough speed on that wing and then banked too aggressively. That's my
Yeah.
take on this, as opposed to an engine issue, just
Yeah.
because of that premise.
I hate to agree with you, but I think I have to, especially the situation where if they had briefed that they were going to take off and then do a low level bank and then fly over people in order to take pictures or get footage, that's already the setup for bad decision making.
It is a
You,
chain.
you don't take off and then do a maneuver outside of like highly regulated low level aerobatics. Like you take off, you're at your most dangerous phase of flight. You're slow and low.
Yeah.
You don't have airspeed to turn to altitude, and you don't have altitude to turn into airspeed. So if you're in a situation to make a decision, like, and you make a decision to take hot dog pictures, I don't know, that sounds like bad decision making.
Yeah,
And
I would
if
concur.
if your specific goal is to rotate and then fly over people, and as it did look like the plane was coming at the people filming, you're now looking at something on the ground while you're trying to take off, and you're trying to take off based on a ground reference. That's not how takeoffs work. Takeoffs work based on when your airplane reaches a flying speed. And I mean, right now, I think it looks like target fixation. You're looking at a reference point on the ground, and your plan is to take off and turn towards that thing. And in this case, it's people with cameras.
Yeah.
It very easily could have pulled the airplane off the ground before it was really ready to fly. And if in your mind your plan is I'm gonna take off and I'm gonna turn and I'm gonna give them a great knife edge
Yeah.
low pass right over them. I mean, that's what it looked like he was setting up to do, and you just didn't have the airspeed.
That's what I would think that's probably the most likely cause, unfortunately. I mean, I hope we're proven wrong, and I hope we find some sort of fuel control issue that's possible as well. But it seems like, and I don't see, I couldn't get the GPS data to figure out if they took at what percentage they took off on the runway to see how long their takeoff roll was, to see roughly what the airspeed might be. I wasn't able to access that, but I'm sure that's also in the data that they'll be picking up.
Yeah, and even in the video, if we did an audio analysis on the video, we would be able to determine if both engines were turning at the same RPM or similar RPMs, and you'd be able to identify if there was a change. So that would, I don't know if we'd be able to really hear it, but with a little bit of processing just on the sound file, we could probably assess the health of both of the engines and the props.
Yeah. And one more thing, Ben, that I want to just bring up. I mean, this is kind of irrelevant right now, but if you take a look at the rotation, the second he starts going, I don't think that any of this was recoverable, because he pulls, bangs, and if I play this full speed, within less than 1 second, the airplane's no longer controllable. Even if you shut off both engines at that moment in time, you're still going to come in and hit that left stalled wing.
Right there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, as soon as that wing stalls, all over that low.
And so even down low, exactly. So even if he did the best possible job, in my opinion, like killed everything, try to get it straight, it would have probably been a fatal crash regardless at that moment in time because of the stalled wing. That's what we're assuming. It's a stalled wing, but it pretty damn well looks like a stalled wing.
I'm with you. I hope we find something mechanical in this that explains it. But until then, just going by the video, everything kind of lines up with pulling the airplane into the air before it was ready to fly, and trying an abrupt pull at that. Yeah. That was an up bubble. That was a lot of up bubble. Yeah. You usually take off, 3 degrees, 5 degrees. That was usually close to 10 degrees.
I think as pilots, we've all done stupid things when, we fly. Generally, we try to stand ground effect for a longer time before we do abrupt, maneuvers, generally. But, it's a learning curve, unfortunately.
It is. And that's why a lot of the procedures and regulations are written in blood, because this looks like it might have been an unnecessary or an avoidable accident.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'm Todd.
Ben.
It's Ben. Take care, guys. Safe flying.
Peace.